I just want to open up with a couple of pictures of myself and my husband, my best friend, and show off the scar. Probably in this top right one, right? You can see I had so many scars. I have Crohn's disease. I unfortunately have been diagnosed with that, not necessarily cancer, but I found in talking with Chris, we bonded so well because there's so many similarities. And I'm the poster child for autoimmune deficiencies and issues and everything that comes along with it, having very aggressive Crohn's disease. And the pictures here are showing me in 2001, right after 9/11. First of all, my friends thought I was crazy to fly. And I'm like, I'm not going to let a terrorist attack stop me from going on vacation. But also, it was right after I finally got the news that I had to have an ostomy. And my Crohn's had advanced severely enough where it's time to do it. Pain levels were so high in the hospital every 3 weeks, getting my anal canal stretched open by my doctor just so I could, release my waste. So it was really bad times, and so we flew out to Tahiti, and the middle poster is me in Thailand, and I have these two pictures, these two locations in particular, because it's also where I first encountered Turkish toilets or Muslim toilets, and went, yeah, this is for me. And my best friend who always traveled with us was like, I'm not eating all day because there's no way I know what to do with this hole in the floor. And I'm finally like, there is a hose? Oh my gosh, this is so cool. So Chris, if you would advance, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. So what I learned from the PMP Pals dinner last night, and even in talking to some of you this morning, is everyone's on a different knowledge level about, first of all, the disease. You all are in different stages. I'm seeing 15+ year survivors and other people that have just faced the diagnosis. And my first thing to say is we all go through those tough times of almost like the death. We have to be angry. We have to come to terms. We have to ask, why me? So let's get through that and be with those people that love you and support you, and groups like this, and have friends like Chris and organizations like this that can get us through, especially those early days where it's like, oh, what do I do now, right? You gotta go through that, and let yourself do that, please, right? So I found out that some folks don't even know what an ostomy is that's in the room. So some of us, when we face our PMP surgery, our surgeons talk to us and they say, there's a good chance that you might wake up with this. Some surgeons don't mention that, and all of a sudden you wake up with all these drainage tubes coming out of you, and then all of a sudden you have this thing attached to you that you're like, what is this, right? So there are many different kinds of ostomies, and the kind that I have is probably the most common, where part of your intestine, could be your large intestine, could be your small intestine, is actually placed to the outer portion of your body. And I'm going to kind of push down on my skin here where you can see. And a little part of your intestine comes out from your skin. It's called the stoma. And instead of going to the bathroom and wasting and having a bowel movement through your regular anal canal, your waste comes out here. Okay? There are many different kinds. There's a flush ostomy where the stoma doesn't stick out as much. You'll hear about a J pouch or a KOCK, a cock pouch, or an S pouch. There's different kinds of ostomies. And the J pouch is one that typically is one that's a temporary scenario, like some of you might be in that situation, instead of a permanent one. And what that means is you probably have a lot of intestines left, especially the large intestine, the important stuff at the back end, the sigmoid colon, maybe the anal canal yet, where you can be hooked together. I unfortunately got the news right away that, forget it, I had my whole colon removed at once, so mine was permanent right out of the gate. So life with an ostomy. We'll talk about, what can I do and what can I not do? Yeah, there's a few things I can't do, so we'll look at that. And then Chris talked to me, and we're like, what, tips and tricks. And for those of us that have an ostomy in the room, don't get busted means all kinds of things for us, right? So Chris, if you advance, please. So a couple of numbers. 36 years ago is when I was diagnosed with Crohn's. Okay, so I'm celebrating 36. I have a very, very aggressive disease. I have had over 100 times I have been cut into surgically to have skip lesions removed, fistulas repaired, setons placed within different parts of my musculature. 26 of those have been where I call those major surgeries, where I've had at least more than a foot of my intestines removed. One time the whole colon had to come out, and that was it. The disease had just eaten away at everything. And so I was 15 years old, waking up with all these tubes and things, going, what just happened to me, And number 6. The 6 kind of has a couple of different meanings, but most importantly is I've got less than 6 feet of intestines left. So I only have, after your stomach, you have your duodenum. It's kind of tomato, even pronounces a little bit differently. And then you have your jejunum. Well, I've already got my jejunum cut into. I have no ileum. I've got nothing after that. So I get very dry mouth when I speak a lot because, your colon helps absorb a lot of your liquids, right? So I'm a heavy drinker of water, okay? And the last 6 years, I'm proud to say, with my doctors, I haven't had as much as a gurgle. Now, I've had my ostomy longer than that, but the last 6 years, haven't had a gurgle, haven't had a pain. So, there is hope that later on in life, as you even live with an ostomy longer, you get used to things, your body adapts and adjusts. Our bodies are a marvel to me. And my background, like Chris said, we met at Varian Medical Systems where I currently work, but I'm a radiation therapist. I actually treated cancer patients myself. So having an ostomy and pushing patients around that just had colorectal cancer and for whatever reason they had to have an ostomy, it was a great opportunity to finally say, you know what? I'm the one pushing you around on that treatment table right now, and I'm the one with the ostomy, and no more complaining. No more complaining. We're going to get you through this. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks and how you can get along with this. And by the way, you get to maybe get reconnected. So, let's start looking on the brighter side of things instead of the negative side, okay? 6 is also, over the 36 years of my disease, I actually compiled how many days off from work I took. And it's about a total only of 6 weeks of work time over the course of all those years that I missed a day at work. I taught high school. I coached 6 sports, and I coached weightlifting. A lot of people are like, wow, how can you do that with using all this pressure and tightening up your muscles? Well, guess what? Good rock solid abs, helps your back, helps everything. It's just great, right? So Chris, let's flip on to the next thing. So 6 has a lot of numbers. So July 2001, I call that my O day. Today, July is when I had to have that ostomy done, made permanent, had to give in. Always talk to my doctors, please don't let me wake up with this thing. Always had that fear. That many years ago, I'm 52 right now, I still wanted to run around in a bikini on the beach. So as you can see from those pictures that I showed you before in Tahiti, you just go from a bikini bottom to some board shorts. Kind of cover up just a little bit more up higher, right? So Chris, let's flip over to the next one. So there are a couple of things that I can't do. This is me in Tahiti on a boat ride, riding over from Mo'orea over to Papeete, Tahiti, when I first found out what a Turkish toilet was. And then later on with life, I'm riding on some camels. In the back, you can see the pyramids. I'm in the Sahara Desert here. And then on each side, I have a listing of a couple of things that my husband and I have done lately. I can't actually go down snow tubing on my belly. I don't want to damage things, I don't zip line, because those harnesses are kind of weird. My ostomy is very low, right? I've been shark diving, in the water, swimming, active, fishing, swimming in Iceland, making pizza in Napoli, walking the bridge over the River Kwai. I'm a CFO of a nonprofit organization myself that takes care of cancer children and kids that are looking for foster care. I love cooking and hosting dinners. Let's go shopping in London. Let's go tour Singapore. Areas that are super dry or super hot. You're sweating. Don't let any of those things stop you. Cruise ships and things like that. So just as you've got to walk 4 miles first to get to the Olivine Beach in Hawaii if you've ever been on the main island. And then when you get there, there's no bathrooms. So what do? How do I empty, right? All those kinds of things. And like I said, I think the most important, impactful thing is helping children also that have Crohn's disease. You get the disease around 15, 18 years old, and then a lot of people develop it later on in life too. So teaching high school was a big deal for me because I could work with parents and stuff and say, hey, no, this is how your kid's going to behave. They're not going to tell you what's going on. How do you deal with all the gases and things? Hiking in U.S. national parks, 26 miles in the whole rainforest in Seattle. Best walk you ever want to go on, by the way. You got to watch the tides more than you got to watch your ostomy. So Don't let it stop you, I guess, is the moral of the story. This is just a few things, like I said, literally that we've just done recently. And like Chris said, I really, really believe that there shouldn't be anything that stops you. Even when I go for massages, a lot of people are like, oh, use that little ring thing. It doesn't work. Just kick up your leg. Let them rub your back. You know, it kind of lets you turn it at an angle and let your ostomy breathe a little bit, right? So let's not let anything stop us. That camel ride ended up being 4 hours long, and I think this side hurt more than this side. I didn't have to worry about that. So Chris, let's forward in advance, please. So some tips and tricks. So my ostomy has been permanent for 18 years now. Okay, so just kind of wrap that around. Some folks, like I said, when they are PMP pals, luckily their ostomies are very temporary. But I will tell you, there's a dynamic that happens with an ostomy. So if you get that, you also possibly have a decision later on, do you want to get connected? Where's your quality of life? Or do you want to be made permanent? Okay? So that's a discussion you personally have with your physicians. From my own experience, having it reconnected, or when I had my regular full intestines and I didn't have my ostomy, the buildup of all your ileocecal valve, having everything in a closed system, the gases, everything builds up in your own internal system. This is a continuous flowing system. So even when I take off on an airplane, I travel every week for work, by the way. Every week I'm at 2 or 3 different locations. I feel the different pressures changing in my body, just like you feel your ears pop, right? So I tell myself all the time, wow, if I didn't have this ostomy right now, all that pressure and all that gurgleization would kind of happen. And you see those Crohn's disease patient commercials on TV right now too, right? And where are they usually sitting? On a plane going, oh my gosh, what do I do? And I'm like, oh, that's not me, I have an ostomy. I'll just go empty as soon as the bell rings when we hit 10,000 feet, right? So it's prevented a lot of pain. I really truly believe that I had before, that I possibly don't have now just because of the ostomy, and I really call it my cure. Because not only that, now as you all saw me eating, some of you caught me in the hotel, some of you caught me last night, I can eat vegetables and raw things and seeds and spicy hot food. Now I know some of you can't. We all know our bodies are different, but for me, going my first years without being able to eat so much as a handful of popcorn, without ending up in the hospital literally one time for 2 weeks and had 6 transfusions. I mean, it just tore me up that badly, to now I can eat the whole bucket. So what happened, right? What happened? And I'm sorry, the only thing that I know is I didn't have an ostomy then and I do now. So something changed. My body adapted. So you get this ostomy nurse, and Chris, if you'd flip over. I'm sorry, she didn't have an ostomy. I was at Tampa General at the time. I lived down in Florida. And I'm laying in bed, and no offense, I have a little bit of a chest, and I'm laying down in bed, and she's trying to show me how to change the ostomy like I can see anything. So I have been through the gamut. I have tried, and by the way, companies will send you samples. You can go on, I love Bruce Medical, there's Vitality Medical, there's places you can buy also ostomy products that if you have them shipped on a regular basis, they also reduce the costs. Right? Because every change for me is around $7 to $8. That can be a lot. But I will tell you, I only probably now change my ostomy stuff about every 6 days, not quite a week rotation for me. Okay, so not too bad. I've got it down to a science. So the reason why I have 2, I like the Convatec products. Like I said, I've been out there, I've tried them all. It's up to you. I'm not sponsoring any particular company. It just works for me. I'm comfortable with the use. And I've got 2 up there, and if you notice on the boxes, you actually have to do it according to the size of your ostomy. So that's rule number 1. If you notice right next to that, there's this little disc thing. That's a stoma hole cutter. I buy them without the pre-cut hole. I also have a theory that if you buy them with the pre-cut holes, air gets to those a little bit longer, and they're not as sticky as they should be as if you cut them yourselves. So I cut them about I do like a box at a time, so 10 lasts me, a good month plus, right? So there's 2 kinds here. One has a tape around it where the ostomy, the adhesive is actually smaller, and then another one is a full square adhesive. And I like to change it up simply because of skincare, right? And sometimes it's all about what I'm doing, because you gotta rip these things off and put them back on and rip them off and put them back and rip them off, and sometimes your skin can get red, irritated. I have heard of other ostomy patients and talking to them where their skin is just so poor that they're actually open wound, you know. Your skin can get a little weepy, but I'm like, wow, we really need to help you manage this better then. You know, we don't want to deal with open skin. So my husband made this little wood ring around it because that's actually the size of the plastic hole. And I've got it all with me here so you can see. How fun is this, right? Oops, sorry, my tape just fell. So the little wood ring actually fits around the actual appliance. I call it the Tupperware lip, right? And he built we took the hole cutter, because that's actually the size of my homa, so we put it in there, and then bam, we can make it, it's like a template, so we can center it perfectly every time, right? So just bam, we just throw it on a cutting board and hit it with that thing then, so it's very nice. Every now and then I have to use a little bit of stone adhesive powder, because your skin does get a little weepy. Okay, just maybe little spots here and there and stuff, so you just sprinkle it on lightly and that stuff. I love the closed pouch system, or excuse me, the open pouch system. Okay, the Tupperware ring here attaches to that Tupperware ring over there. I like it where it's got this barrier here on the back, because as it touches your skin, you know, your skin gets sweaty on your leg after a while. You know, it's like having who wants a plastic bag touching your leg all the time, right? It also avoids the crinkle noises a little bit more. You know, my sister-in-law is like, I don't even know my grandpa. He crinkled when he walked. I'm like, do you even know what you just said to me? Anyway, I don't like her. But this is, you ever have children that come from the same family? And you wonder? Stone adhesive paste. We'll talk about that in a bit. And there's skin preps, and I'll talk about my favorite kind of skin preps here. And so I have, you know, I brought all this with you so you guys can look at it. And tape. Paper tape I use around my ostomy after I put it on. This skin tone, for lack of a better word, you know, it's not everybody's skin tone, but I'll call it that. This is thinner and finer tape. I don't like the adhesive fibers, other kinds of tapes that are like the plasticky kind, or they're made out of fabric. They're too gooey, they get all caught up, they ruin your pants. You know, they're gonna turn blue if you're wearing blue jeans anyway, and all that kind of stuff. But I find that this paper tape is thinner than this white paper tape. This, after a day, will stick to me like crazy. So if I know I'm going swimming tomorrow, I use this. It's really interesting. It melds like into my skin. You ever put a fresh Band-Aid on? It's easy to take off real quickly. But after tomorrow when you try to rip it off, it's really stuck well. So that's another tip right there. If I know I'm doing something super active, I'll change myself the day before, not the morning of. It's too fresh. Too fresh of a change, if that makes sense, right? Okay, Chris. Thank you. So I have my own terminology I've made up, because like I said, my ostomy nurse, you know, you were there for the day and a couple hospitalizations, and they'd show you what to do, and then you leave and you go, great. So when you wet change versus doing a dry change, okay? A dry change is, yep, I'm gonna go get my stuff, my little box of tricks I've got in a little Tupperware bin at home, you know, like good enough for a quick carry it around and change stuff for you. A dry change is like right now. Let's rip it off, dry change it. A wet change is if I'm in the shower. And I'm taking it off in the shower, getting a good skin clean, good rubs, you know, cleaning everything up very nicely. So, you know, we're actually removing the appliance and everything in the shower, like I said. So when do I do this, right? I only will wet change if it's in the morning, because I know I'm active and I'm up during the day, because your skin is damp from showering. And then when I get out and I blow dry my hair, I use the blow dryer actually on my ostomy to dry my skin, and then that way the heat of the blow dryer will actually help it adhere to your skin better. That's why when you push it down on your skin, put your hands around it and push it down and hold it for a while. The heat of your hands even will help it immediately stick better. So a dry change is if I know, I can feel it starting to pop up off my skin a little, and I'm getting ready to go to bed. If I go to bed and I don't change it now, it's gonna blow open, and I'm gonna have to wake my husband up at 2 o'clock in the morning because the sheets are a mess, right? And that's not fair to him. So a dry change, yeah, let's just rip it off. I know I've got to do it, and you know, it doesn't really matter the length of time that it lasts. Is good as long as I use like a blow dry or something after I come out of the shower and really get my skin nice and dry. And that's also the difference of the condition of my skin. If my skin starts to feel super itchy underneath, I will also do a wet change. I'll make sure, because sometimes it gets weepy, almost like call it infectious-like. It kind of gets this like weepy layer on there, and sometimes just showering, washes, like get it with good soap and water, like cleaning out a wound, right? And it's not necessarily an open wound, but it's just the way your skin weeps sometimes, right? So the condition of my skin will also factor it in. Sometimes I'll say like, no, I need to do a wet change because it's super itchy, or nope, I can do a quick dry change, okay? And also, what do the next few days look like? Okay, so what's your activity going to be? Am I on vacation? Is the weekend coming up where I know I'm a little bit more active than just going to work and doing that kind of thing, you know? But remember, going for me for work is hopping on a plane, trains and automobiles, and traveling from one cancer center to the other, because that's what I still do for a living, right? So also, what do the next few days look like? So again, a wet change is because I know I'm at home, I'm going to be traveling all day, it's in the morning, I'm standing up a lot because I'm walking through airports and stuff, and I'm nice and straight in my body, in my positioning too. If I know I'm going to be sitting down a lot and crunched down, then that makes a big difference too, right? So you kind of learn when to change and when not to change and how to change it. So Chris, next one. So skin prep. There's a couple of different kinds on the market, and again, it's kind of nice to know, but there's two kinds. There are the non-sting types, and then there are these that are alcohol-based that are the stingers, okay? I won't use the non-sting kind anymore. I find once I use that skin prep on there, I'd rather wash myself in the shower, keep my skin nice and dry, just literally blow on it sometimes, and do one of these things, and just let it air dry as I'm changing, rather than always using a skin prep. I will only use skin prep if I'm doing a dry change, because I need to clean around it. Sometimes your waste actually will get around the outside, and I use it to clean. But you got to watch; these are alcohol-based. And so, what's the difference? I find when I use that non-stick type, and I put my appliances on top of that, it doesn't last as long. It's just me. There's something about that barrier; it makes it come apart that much faster. And I've actually, like I said, 18 years of this, you start going, oh, I'm using the non-sting type, and I just literally throw them in the garbage. So these I use when I'm doing a dry change only, because I need to use it to clean, and clean around my skin. Not don't touch your stoma with it, because like I said, they're alcohol-based, and it's gonna sting like, well, I just say like Godzilla, because it's gonna put you on fire. You gotta do a little Shaolin priest for a moment, go, I can do this, and in a couple seconds it goes away, but it's still remember, it's alcohol-based, and alcohol on open wounds is not good for anybody, right? So really get it just on the outside. And then, like I said, on the stoma adhesive powders, they come in these little bottles like this. Like I said, I'll use that just in little spots when my skin's a little bit too weepy, but it really helps create a barrier then. It actually makes the same material as the wafer itself, so it'll help things stick and adhere together. Okay, so just on the little weepy spots, you don't have to douse yourself. And I found out the lighter the better. Do a dusting. Don't do a drenching and make a paste out of it, because it's just going to separate later too. It's not that fancy. It's not a miracle cure, but it does help things stick better. Okay, Chris, the next one. So ring around the appliance, right? So while I'm in the shower, I'm hopping out, I use 4x4 gauzes. You can buy them in these big, long paper bags full of these, just all lined up. They're my favorite. A lot of people will use washcloths and stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do that laundry, no offense, but this is my disposable part of my world. But I'll actually put it right underneath my stoma and when I change. And that way, if I do have drainage while I'm changing, it catches it. I have the garbage can literally right in front of me and just keep pitching them, and make it easy. Makes it easier to do in the airport bathrooms while I'm sitting on the toilet and all kinds of things. It makes life super easy. So I make sure everything's all connected together and clipped together. And by the way, I don't care for those new bags that have that weird fold-up thing with I don't trust them. I just personally maybe because I'm in airports and I'm really getting knocked around, the guy in front of me getting off his seat is whipping on his backpack, and I'm like, whoa, or the TS agent's going like this to me. I'm like, you're gonna feel my little clip right here. Hey, take it easy, They don't work for maybe my lifestyle. Other people maybe, but for me, I need that hardened clip. And I have some here. The ones that actually come apart and clip and seal. I love these. Love this baby, right? So get everything and put it all together before you even start, right? And then, like I said, take it easy using the actual Ostomy adhesive paste. So right around the ring, they have got all this paper backing, right? So right around the ring, I'm going to take it off. I brought extras, don't worry. Right around the ring, it's just a very light, small amount, okay? And I let it goop down around the side and around. The more you put on, the more it makes a bump. So when you stick it onto you, you gotta push down really hard to smooth all that out. Otherwise, you're gonna get air gaps between the ring and right here with the rest of the stuff sticking. So some people go crazy putting this paste on. I'm like, no, you might as well just use paste and stick the bag onto it. I don't know, but it just doesn't make sense. If you think about it from maybe in more of an engineering perspective, right? I also like the 4x4s because they do the best wiping off the paste, by the way. They got like a little slicky surface. Tissues and stuff, if you've ever used this stuff, forget it. You'll have it all over you. So a nice on the ring, and then just push down and then make like a little barrier with your fingers and just hold it down and let the warmth of your hands just let that stuff really stick nicely to yourself, right? And then I kind of push outward. Because as you saw, this one has actually got an adhesive around it, like a, right? It's got it's got its own adhesive around it. Other ones are solid and square, where it's all the appliance wafer product, the Dur adhesive. I personally don't wear the ones that have any kind of concavity to them. I like the flat ones. It just works for my body type. Yeah, this is all garbage. It turns into things. But again, you'll find out what works best for you and your activity levels. So what I also do is once I actually put the appliance on, when I'm using that one that's got the tape, I'll actually use a little Ostomy adhesive paste around the edges there too, and then I use my paper tape on top of it. It'll help it stick better. Now after a couple of days it'll harden up, but it also depends on how many days and again your level of activity. So Chris, go ahead, next one. So kneeling isn't just for praying. So like I said, that ostomy nurse is teaching me this stuff and I'm laying on the bed. I can't see anything what's going on, So this is what I do. I get out of the shower, I throw a whole bunch of towels that, are already in the dirty laundry or whatever, or the one my husband used in the morning from, and I'm the next person to shower. And I literally put the garbage bag in front of me and I kneel like this. And that way my little gauze bandages that I'm using are sitting right here, right on top of my ostomy so I can be hands-free. So if a little comes out, it goes right under the gauze and the gauze absorbs it. I don't have to worry about trying to catch things and chase things and all that, right? And I'm kneeling on old towels anyway, right? Now I'm thinking, wow, as I get older, these knees might not be able to do this, right? But also that's when I'm in the airport sometimes and things I feel get loose where I feel uncomfortable, and I found sitting in a chair helps too, because it's kind of the same action. So your thigh is kind of aiding you in holding your gauze bandages. Again, so when waste is coming out while you're changing, because it's gonna happen, you've got those gauze bandages right there to pick up everything. So when I finally, though, at my very end stage and I've got everything done, I've used my skin prepper knot or whatever, everything's dry, I've got everything attached. When I finally stick it on, though, I don't stay in that position. I stand up, and then I push it down. Because if you do it while you're kneeling, you're catching all your little skin folds and whatnot. And also, I have a million, that's overstating, but I have a lot of from all my surgeries, drainage tubes, little slits, little tiny scars. And before my ostomy became permanent, some of my previous surgeries, I have little drainage scars that really are very close to my stoma, literally one's an inch. So that creates, I'll call it a dimple. So I use my Ostomy adhesive paste and I fill my dimple with that first. So again, I'm blocking, I'm not making an air gap. I'm making everything nice and sealed before I put everything on. So that's another little tidbit there. Chris? Then next step, tape, tape, tape. I learned this from my friend who had bowel surgery because of MS. She was born with a weird loop, and she said if it wasn't for tape, she wouldn't be able to survive. So, like I said, I'm always pushing down on my appliance. The appliances have little belt tabs on them. I let them be my friends. So I actually, when I'm pushing down, and I will tape right over these. I tape across the appliance in a square, and then I tape at an angle, like a different kind of picture framing, right? And then where I know I'm lumpy and bumpy, I tape and extend out. So even though my ring is right here, my tape is probably all the way out to here, because I know that's how I bend. And I tape in all the directions that my body moves. I'm not just this. You know, I'm going this way and that way. So I found doing tape at many different angles on your body helps everything stay nice and fit and secure. And I push down while I'm taping on this ring, so then it feels so nice and tight and secure, and that you have that sense of confidence that I can go out and do anything. You know, that's, I think, a huge key. So like I said, tape in the directions that you have natural body motion. Don't just go up and down on the sides. But I will tell you, if you can't tolerate tape, you're allergic to adhesives and things like that, then I guess the next best thing would be, there is an ostomy belt that you can wear. But again, where's the belt go? It only goes one direction around you. So it really doesn't help with all the other ways that you can move and be super active. You know, that camel is not just going to bounce me like this. You know, you're going in all kinds of directions. So, but there are belts that you can wear if tape, you know, you can't tolerate tape. Some people just can't, you know, deal with the adhesive. So Chris, next one. So no offense, but the thinner my tummy is, the better all this is to deal with, okay? Fat gives you bulges, fat makes things protrude. Fat makes my scars, because usually you're pretty sick, you lose a lot of weight, you have surgery. So all of my drainage scars are from when I was pretty thin, because those were very, you know, sick times for me. So those become dimples. So the thinner I am, the flatter everything is, the more all this is so much easier to stick. You know, I've been on prednisone and all these other things and all these other types of stuff, and you know, you gain a little bit of weight, and I find I have to change myself that much more often. So, you know, no offense, but those extra lumps and bumps do present a lot of extra challenges, you know, so just kind of something to think about. Just the flatter you are, the easier all this is to deal with, right? And always have a change with you, right? Always bring something along. Now, I'm traveling for a week. You know, from here I'm going to Boston, then I got to go to Pittsburgh, and then I finally get to go back home to New York right after this. So, you know, I brought enough stuff. I'm probably overkill, but I bring enough so if I have to change myself every day, that's how much supplies I have with me. I don't know what's going to happen. The blizzard's going to hit. The airport's going to shut down. I'm stranded for 2-3 extra days. So I kind of do that, bring a change for every day, because I know I'm really not going to probably need it every day. But also sometimes the appliances and stuff aren't reliable. The manufacturers are just making this stuff, and sometimes I'll change myself and they'll just fall apart. I hate to say it, around the ring, I've had different, you know, like I said, Combitech I found pretty reliable, but where this is connecting to the ring, I've had this break apart. I find the bags that don't have this backing aren't made as sturdy. These little edges will, you know, it's just a manufacturing error. You know, 1 or 2 bags just, you know, weren't as, you know, perfectly made as the other ones. I find with this extra backing on here, it seems to be sealed better automatically because I got to attach this thing to it, right? So again, bring a lot of changes with you. And then when I'm doing my short travels, I have a little daily, a little onesie. Yep, change of underwear in here. Paste thing, there's this little change of underwear. Thing paste, a little bit of gauze. There's a skin prep in there somewhere. There's also an extra clip, because sometimes when I'm changing in an airport or something, yep, I would drop the clip in the toilet. So nice, I either go fishing for that, or yeah, let's have an extra one. But you know, throw it in your purse, throw it in your backpack. These little Pam Melms orange bags, I was looking at these, this is perfect, you know, to have this and carry around in. So, you know, basically it's a don't leave home without it kind of thing, right? Always have it changed. A lot of folks like the closed systems too. Apparently, I don't like popping the entire bag off and disconnecting that Tupperware ring to the other, because they're actually closed bags. Some people maybe just don't have the stomach to actually open the clip and empty things into the toilet. That extra pulling and pushing, I tried that for a while, you know, just to see what that would be like. I didn't like popping that thing on and having to push it back on, and then what do I do? Waste is still coming out while I'm trying to pop this thing on and off, and I'm just like, nah, forget it. So watch the heat in the car when you do these things. They're melty. Like I said, I just came from living in Florida, so I never, I always take them with me out of the car because after a while they will degrade. They'll fall apart and just turn into a melted mush, and they actually just lose their whole pliability. They just fall apart and melt. Because it is a skin type barrier that they actually use for burn patients, believe it or not. This is how this got developed, some of the new duoderms that they have. And there's different price points and there's different kinds. And I do like the Durahesive, the flexible kind, just because of my level of activity. Chris, next one. Okay, watch what you eat and when you eat and what to eat. You know your own body. You know what you can tolerate, okay? If I'm going on a 26-mile hike, again, like I said, through the whole rainforest, not many restrooms out there, right? So you either bring your own means to empty your waste and pack out what you pack in, be a good Girl Scout and Boy Scout, right? Or I eat a good dinner, I have a snack for breakfast. I know within 20 minutes with me, because I have such, not many intestines left, 20 minutes, just like this morning, I had to leave after the first session because I had to go empty. So I can empty. I know if I do a second one, I'm good for the day then. Because I know that's how much and how quickly my food goes through you. Some of you might be 3 hours, some of you might be an hour. Everyone's different how they do. But obviously I empty before I hit the trail, and I know that is my last empty. So I eat a little snack, I'll empty, and I empty again, and then I can go. And I'm good the whole rest of the day. So it's managing and having a plan together about what can you do and what are you going to eat. I'm in Papeete, Tahiti in some of those pictures. I'm on an atoll. There's no bathrooms there whatsoever. They have this giant thing with all these pineapples and papayas and all this grilled fish and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, pass. I'll let my friends enjoy that. I'll eat when we get back to the hotel. Because I'm just like, there's no way. Not in my 20-minute time period. Are you kidding me? Either I'm going to go out in the rocks and the lava. I don't think so, and get really messed up. So I know what goes through me very quickly, and I know what goes through me, very slowly. Last night at the dinner, I didn't want to have stuff really get more compact in me, so I don't eat the breads and the fried stuff with the breadings because that's more pasty foods. I didn't eat the brownie because I know that takes longer for me, and I'm about to go to bed, it's in the evening, so I know that's going to start going through me in the middle of the night. Well, if I'm a tosser when I sleep, so I have a more potential of having things break open at night. I'll eat more things like the fresh. I eat the cucumbers and the salads and things like that because I know that'll go through me quickly, more fast before I can go to bed, and I can be totally empty before I sleep. So you'll learn the processes and what your body does and doesn't do. Fresh brewed restaurant tea, by the way, I don't know what it is. I can drink like this Gold Peak tea, it's fine. I can drink tea at home. I don't know what they do, but that stuff, I can literally feel it going right through my body, running through me, and it comes out of my ostomy as cold as I drank it. It's like that fast. I can literally feel it go right through. And it literally, like a faucet, comes right on my ostomy that fast. So there's a lot of different foods that you'll figure out along the way. But does it stop you from doing anything? No. Sometimes it's kind of nice to have that go through you, and it's almost like a weird self-irrigation, right? Which a lot of people do irrigate, and I know a lot of ostomy nurses will teach the art of irrigation. That's more for your colostomy, people that have had some kind of connectivity to your large intestine. There is some irrigations where you actually can take, it looks like a turkey baster, and right into your stoma, put water back onto your system to help flush out yourself because things are thicker. With ileostomies, or mine I guess would be called a jugostomy, because they name it with whatever part of the intestine you're connected to, right? So I don't have to worry about that. I'm kind of always in a state of a diarrhea type, liquidy type state anyway, so I don't have to worry about irrigating. And I balance the types of foods that I eat too, because like some of our physicians and folks that talked about earlier, a lot of folks have diabetes and things like that. Well, what I found too, because stuff runs through me so quickly, if I eat high sugary foods, hits my system just as if a diabetic is being treated. It'll run through me so fast that sugar will hit me, it'll spike me up and then I'll hit low, and so it's kind of dangerous. So I don't drink solid sugary foods because I just know how fast it goes through me. And then international travel sounds kind of funny that we probably should anyway, but I bring my own toilet paper wherever I go because they either make you pay for it or it's really lousy. Because I actually use toilet paper to clean when I empty the end of my ostomy bag, right? So I'll actually take it, after I've emptied, and I pop it open. I just give it a little twist with my fingers, and I take about, good Charmin, 3 squares, and I roll it up, and I stuff it down into here, and I swish it around at the end of my ostomy bag, and I pull it out. It keeps everything nice and clean, and because that's the part that's exposed because I'm going to clip it, right? So I make sure this part is nice and clean. The toilet paper goes obviously into the toilet, and I clip it, right? Well, when you travel, it's, or one of my friends, I got this cheap stuff. I don't know what it is, but it's like crepe paper or something. It just falls apart, and it's just a mess, right? So I just bring your own, that way you don't have to pay for it when you're in Egypt, and it's a heck of a lot better to use and really cleans well, right? So not necessarily traveling internationally, but maybe you've got your great aunt or uncle that buys that cheap stuff at their house too. So I always have something with me all the time because it just breaks apart. And also when you're going on boats, right? There's marine toilet paper. Stuff disintegrates in 2 seconds. Not good. So I am on a boat. I mean, not like a cruise ship, obviously, but a regular boat, traveling. Again, I'm a pack in when I pack out. Sometimes I'll just bring an extra little Ziploc bag, throw my own stuff in there, throw it in my bag, because I don't want to ruin their toilet systems on it. I go fishing on Thursday to Sunday. I go out into the middle grounds fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. We don't touch land for 4 days solid. Well, I bring my own stuff, I clean it out, and I just keep it, I pack it out, and I make sure, because you don't want to mess up somebody else's, head system on a boat. It's expensive, right? So Chris, next one. Fun reminder that that's where your intestinal tract starts. So a couple of things about this slide. I am a big advocate of also making sure that you have good dental hygiene. Your health of your intestines starts also with the health of your mouth. Okay, so I actually get my teeth cleaned a little bit more often than probably a lot of other folks. It's, every dentist always has preached that to us, but when we do have intestinal issues, time to start really heeding that. And I've got on here, have a secret code. So my code is Einstein. We're sitting there in Tahiti, we're in the bungalow, still trying to figure this thing out. Remember, I just had surgery. I just got the staples out and all that stuff. My husband and I, gotta love them. We are laughing so hard because it's the first time we actually settled in and started seeing that the action of the stoma moving, and we're, and the waste is coming out. We're laying on the ground in this bungalow, if you can just imagine this beach scene, the most beautiful area of the world, where Bali High is in Moorea. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing's got a mind of its own, stop, because I didn't know about eating and when, so I'm trying to change it right after we ate. I mean, duh, but, and we're just laughing, and my husband's like, yeah, my math background too. He's like, it's Einstein, it's got a brain of its own. So that's stuck. Let your friends and family know that you have these little one-day supplies or something with you all the time. Because even when I'm in the airport bathroom and I'm traveling maybe with my husband, because he'll hold my bag, obviously being the gentleman that he is, I will and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'll look down and go, oh, I need change. Maybe something popped open that, I didn't even feel it, but now I can see it, right? I will tell another nice lady in the restroom, you will find this gorgeous 6'3" Norwegian outside, gray hair, white hair. Go tell him Einstein. Just say one word to him, Einstein. He knows what to do. He knows, go get that bag for me. I need to change. So while we're out with friends, while we're at a restaurant, because again, stuff runs through me so quickly, I'll just say, Einstein. And he knows I'm getting up. There's no stopping me. I am beelining to the restroom because I just felt something weird, you feel it come apart. You feel things, right, your skin. So he knows I'm about to go take care of something. And my other friends, I'm just like, I'm gonna go empty. They all know, it's so cool. But he knows that that's a secret code word for us, and a lot of my close friends know that too. So I'm part of a pirate crew down in Tampa Bay, Florida, where we do 8-mile parades and things like that. And the bartenders on our parade floats, Pam just said Einstein. They all know I've got a bag hanging in behind the bar with my stuff in it, and they know to go get it to me in the restroom. So it's a fun communal kind of thing, but yet everyone knows what that means. And there's nothing like having good friends. They all want to help. They all want to help you. They don't want you to feel bad and suffer. And then my last thing here is talk about what you have. From the moment I was 15, walking down the halls in high school, kids were brutal. I was in such pain. I had a hard time walking from class to class. I had this special pass that let me run out of the room in case I had to go to the bathroom, Well, who is she? Why does she get special privileges? All this kind of stuff, And then in the hallway, I'm getting books knocked down and stuff, because I was also the new girl from New York living in Zephyr Hills, Florida, and they don't even understand, not only you're the new kid, but they don't even know why am I doing what I'm doing. Just as recently as Varian Medical Systems, we have one of our offices in Atlanta that Chris and I would run into each other all the time there, and the girl said, I finally got to know you because we went on an excursion, and like, you always used to come in and run out and do your thing. And I'm like, yeah, because I just got off a plane. I just went and took a train to the rental car place, got in the rental car, came straight here, and by now I have to empty. So I come into the office and I'm running to the bathroom, and they're like, and they thought I was just like this snobby, stuck up, whatever, And finally they got to know me because we actually went on an excursion together, and they're like, oh my gosh, I never realized this was you. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. When I was coming in, it's because I had to go empty. I'm not trying to be, antisocial or whatever. So the more they started to learn about the fact that I had the disease, years later at that very high school, I became a high school math and physics teacher, calculus and physics teacher. The parents of those fellow children of mine, my classmates, now I'm teaching their kids. And they're like, oh no, Melms is gonna be tough, this and that, because you should have seen the way she was in high school. She had all these special, and I'm like, no, I was 15, I didn't care who knew about what was going on. I was hurting, I was too worried about gas expelling. Oh my gosh, I wanted to go to the bathroom before all my friends hit the bathroom because all that gas that would come out along, they couldn't handle that. Are you kidding me? I was trying to do that flush along as you go. Just, it was crazy, right? So later on, they finally, I'm talking to them as adults while I'm having their own child in my conference room, and saying to them, no, you don't understand. I was 15, and in summer, I had another surgery for Crohn's disease. When you guys were out, over playing around at Busch Gardens and stuff, I was in the hospital all summer, and having yet another surgery and another surgery. And, later on in life, they're like, oh my God, we didn't know. And I'm like, well, we were kids. And being a kid, I didn't know either. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to communicate. And lastly, all the places that I have been, it's because of my awesome doctors. Instead of prescribing a lot of drugs and painkillers, they prescribe vacations. Stress also can be your worst enemy. It creates a lot of extra gastric juices, as we know. It causes all kinds of other problems. And so, sometimes going on vacation and taking a minute and relaxing and giving yourself some time that you probably well deserve. You've been dealing with a lot in your life. You've gotten the worst diagnosis in your life, and sometimes a good vacation and going and having some fun is the best medicine. And that's why, live it. Live life and have fun, and be with somebody that can support your health. If you are with somebody that can't handle going to the hospital, if you're with people, find people that you can have around you. Let somebody take that person's place. Some people just aren't good visiting in a hospital or dealing with a surgery or seeing the stoma. That might be a life partner of yours that just can't handle it, but accept that. They can't, that's fine. So don't drop that person, but at the same time, get other people around you that understand it and know well, know what's going through. And the other thing I can offer is reach out to some Crohn's disease patients. It's amazing the similarities we have between one another. So with that, we're going to think about what we're going to eat for lunch. How many of us have a very long drive home or are getting on a plane like me, right? And we're going to coordinate what's going on with that. And then we're going to understand after the first talk after lunch, a lot of us might have to step out and go to the bathroom because we have to empty, right? So with that, I know Phyllis's husband has an ostomy. Anyone else in the room right now that has an ostomy? You have an ostomy? Anyone who's getting ready to have surgery where you might be contemplating the idea of having an ostomy? Might be a possibility of one of your outcomes, right? So Chris has all my contact information. I'm going to be here the rest of the day too, so if you want to look at anything, if you have a friend that has this, that you want to help support too, if you're a caregiver in that role of supporting, please let me know. But the other thing is just remember, just don't snow tube on your belly, and maybe skydiving isn't an option anymore because the harness is a little weird, but there should be really no excuse why you can't get out there and do anything else. Work a full life, you know, be on disability if you have to, but, you know, I was told I could do that a long time ago. I'm like, no, I'm gonna sit at home in a rocking chair, then what am I gonna do, you know? I think the more active we are and the more lively we are, the more we can enjoy life, the longer we live. You know, we talk to others, we get out. So with that, I'm gonna say thank you, and thank you for having me, Chris.